if you've never seen the film Project Metalbeast before, how can you even say that you're living your best life? Says the guy who didn't watch the film at all in its entirety until last week. Now, as we're all practicing social distancing and self-isolating ourselves in our home, I've had a lot of time to actually catch up on a lot of different television shows and movies that I've wanted to see, and there was one film in particular that I was not sure how I was going to feel about it, just because it felt really silly and really schlocky, and sometimes that's my bag, but at the same time, you never know when you're going to get something that may not push the envelope enough to really grab your attention and might end up being boring, or might just be too extreme and be maybe too much for you to handle. And I fear that that might be the case with a little film that just recently celebrated its 25th anniversary called Project Metalbeast. Now, in the film, there is a military operation in conjunction with the CIA that sends a group of soldiers to Hungary to capture a werewolf for the purposes of stealing its blood and using that blood to create super soldiers. And we have one operative named Donald Butler, who I'm going to call Captain Crew Cut for the purposes of this video, who manages to procure said werewolf blood and take it back to the States so that his colleague, played by Barry Bostwick, and a group of scientists can figure out if it's viable to use for creating super soldiers. And as one scientist puts it, no, it's not. I think her best case scenario at that time was that anyone who took this blood into their body would probably suffer organ failure and probably liquefy their insides until they were finally dead. Like, that was the best case scenario that she was putting forth at that stage. And obviously, Captain Crew Cut did not want to wait for there to be more stringent testing to see if this would be viable for human trials, and just decides to inject it into himself. No synthesizing, no filtration, just taking pure-ass werewolf blood and injecting it into his body. And as you can imagine, chaos ensues. He's raping lab assistants, murdering others, and Barry Bostwick ultimately has to put him down and decides, well, you're dead, but I'm gonna keep you in cryostasis just in case there's something I can do with you maybe 20 years from now? So we fast forward from the 1970s to the 1990s, where Kim Delaney is a scientist who is trying to develop synthetic skin for soldiers that can be super dense and impervious to gunfire and any type of battle damage. And this all seems, again, like a terrible idea. Like, if we really sit and think about it, you want to take this, like, synthetic skin that's supposed to make people bulletproof and put it on people. I don't know how that would work, but I guess this is what we're doing in military scientist labs around the country. This is where your tax dollars are going, at least back in those days. In any event, in trying to find a test subject to use this synthetic skin on, Barry Bostwick says, hey, I've got this frozen werewolf person on ice that you can totally use. And over their examination of him and in removing the silver bullets that Barry Bostwick shot into him 20 years prior, he eventually slowly comes back to life and starts wreaking havoc. And they eventually get to subdue him and put him back on the operating table and still move forward. And that's the crazy thing. You would think after this person comes to life, kills one of your lab assistants, only black guy in the film, of course he has to die, unfortunately, but you would think at this point, maybe we just put things on hold. And I think that was one of the things I actually liked about this film, because there's a general character that is being like the most rational person possible. Because usually in films like this, the general from the military is someone who really wants the super weapon, he really wants his advanced soldiers, and this person here actually cares about his personnel, does not want them to suffer at the hands of some revived werewolf, but Barry Bostwick forces his hand and says, nope, we're moving forward, and we're gonna make our big, grand synthetic skin project with this subject, and as you can imagine, things only get worse from there. So now, not only do you have a werewolf, but now you have a bulletproof werewolf, aka the Metalbeast. And again, I did not know what to expect from this film, but I was pleasantly surprised because it does look like one of those films that you probably woke up to at 2 in the morning after having fallen asleep watching Skinamax, and this just happened to be on back in the day before you had guides on your cable boxes, and you just woke up in the middle of it and decided to watch it and didn't know what the title of it was, but you said to yourself, there's some interesting things going on and I'm gonna check it out. And that's what we have here. It's that type of film. Obviously, this was something that was produced to go straight to Blockbuster or Hollywood Video or Suncoast or whatever video store chain that's not around anymore and hasn't been for probably about the last 15 years. It's a film that was produced in 1995, and it looks like it was filmed in 1985. This thing looks gritty and grungy, but even with all of that, I had so much fun with this film. It was just amazing because you have Kane Hodder as the creature performer for Metalbeast, which is an obvious plus, but then you have some legitimately good-looking special effects as far as bringing the Metalbeast to life. There's some nice texturing going on. He's got these spikes and extendable claws, and there's a lot of practical creature effects work on display here. It's almost like, a step above canon films, honestly. And you just have these great bits of humor, you've got some good action, you've got some fairly decent acting. Like, everyone here is pretty much a professional here, and obviously I've mentioned a few names of actors who went on to bigger and better things anyway, and had already been doing things in their career that let them know that, okay, this isn't something that we're doing to be cheap and just put it out there. I would actually say the score was even kind of impressive, even though some of the musical cues didn't necessarily match the tone of certain scenes. It was still appreciated because it seems like they had some sort of orchestra there, at least maybe like 12 to 15 people doing actual music with instruments, and it's not someone just doing something on a Casio. So you have that to it, you have some good gore in there, you've got some decent action, a little bit of camp to it. I was just astounded by how much I unironically enjoyed this film, and I definitely recommend that if you're looking for something to watch while you're self-isolating, while you're quarantined at your homes. You could do a lot worse, quite honestly, because I think this was just a fun movie, and I'm happy that I finally took the opportunity to see it for myself. Hey guys, thank you for watching as always. If you've got your own opinions on Project Metalbeast, you should definitely share them in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit the notification bell, share this video with your friends and family, and if you'd like to keep up to date with more At Random videos, you can do so by clicking the subscribe button right over here.